Hello and welcome to War Thunder today. This is Old Dead Man, your host. Today we'll be discussing a very special match I had when I was trying to get some war bond tasks done. Now normally I'm an attacker pilot, a bomber pilot. You'll see me in an AD-2 or an AD-4, SB-2C or a B-57B, a whole lot more than you'll see me in an actual fighter. That said, today I had to be top of the team, so I went into a Spitfire Mark V Bravo. This match goes pretty much as you'd expect. For instance, this first encounter here, the HE-219 is looking me over and is actually keeping an eye on me better than I am him. I was mostly looking at that C-202. Keep an eye on him. Then I realized that the 219's turning in towards me, so I have to change my attention to him. He comes back around. Now, instead of going for the head-on like an idiot, I went straight into the air to try and stay out of his guns, rolled over and onto his 6. He flipped over to try and get away from me, and a short burst later, no wings. Still a valiant effort on his part. It doesn't take long for me to find another airplane to get in the middle of. That C-202 that I had to ignore on the first pass has actually tried to pull into me while I was distracted with the 219. So I pull around on him, get onto his 6, pull the throttle out. A couple of bursts later, no more 202. It's clear I've gotten into an advantageous position early in the match, and it's really working out for me. Another 202 here, and looks like he's, I don't think he actually noticed me at first, but he's aiming towards my dot. So he is clearly trying to climb into me and do something about me. Well, I can't let that stand at all. I stay up and high, flip over, and come in on a 6, pull the throttle out. He tries to roll out of the way with a hard turn, and a short burst later, no more 202. Next part here, you see that 55 and Focke-Wulf 190. I'm about to tangle with both of those at the same time. Saving grace on this one is that the Focke-Wulf 190 was paying more attention to the ground targets, as you can see, trying to get them taken care of. There was that BF-109 up there as well. I totally missed him being there as I was a little bit distracted with what I was doing. It's a good thing he didn't notice me, or I'd have been dead meat. Another thing is, I'd lost them both. This is where I'm flip-flopping over trying to find the enemy again so I can actually get on their 6. It's right here that I realize, oh, there he is. Literally, I was clueless until right then. So I try and roll in on his 6, this one's 6 first, the G55. I would not normally let a Focke-Wulf 190 sit out there unmolested during this process. But at this point, I've got a bigger fish to fry. Now, I've ended up with almost no energy already, and this is entirely my fault. I should not have been so hasty to get into the turn fight, and this loss means that I almost think he's got me. Still, I pull it around with some flaps. I notice the Focke-Wulf 190, and since I'm going to further turn anyway, he's noticed me, so I put a burst into him. I don't think it's enough, though. He rolls out, and I continue after the 55. Blow off a flap, trying to make that turn. The 55 has continued to stick with standard turn fighting. He's keeping an eye on me and knows that I am getting more onto his 6.
You could hold up there and hang a little bit, I'll forward you with you.
It's a tough turn fight right here. He really did a good job of trying to keep his plane in the air, and he's trying to force an overshoot again right here, so I put my rounds into him. These are all 30 cals, which I have to admit, I am really not very good with them. So I'm just raking his plane over and over and over with these ineffectual 30s. No energy left. I'm just trying to keep it in the air and make sure I have slightly more energy than he does, and then his tail pops off. Now, if you look at the Focke-Wulf 190, he's managed to keep his plane in the air longer, just gliding it over, and actually does a fairly decent emergency landing for the amount of energy he had left. I originally, when I looked at the replay, thought he was going to end up in the water because I thought there was no way he had enough energy to pull it off. But they managed to put it just past it onto the shore, and then spent a little bit shooting some trees. Probably, you know, really some heart in that Focke-Wulf 190. So I really appreciate that one. Now this landing is perfect, picture perfect. Nicely just drifts right onto the runway. Of course, it had no flaps, so, you know, you had to take it easy the whole way. And now time for a tea and crumpets break. Minutes later. I'm back in the air. At this point, our two teams are really down to just the last little bits. I've got a P-38 and another aircraft in the air. I don't remember what the other one is. There's these two W-Dogs gentlemen, by the way, fine fighters. They were doing a good job all throughout. The first W-Dogs guy and Dustin Smith there, they both went head-to-head and ended up shooting each other down effectively. But the other one had just taken off. That puts him in a very vulnerable position, and he's paying attention to the P-38 to make sure that he doesn't get away. I have found him, and I see his dot, so I'm working on looking at him. That is where I suspect, however, he realizes that he's not alone. Pull the throttle back. And now I roll in on the BF-109 and notice that he is now looking at me. He's trying to spot me, and I'm just coming in on him like a house of fire. Speaking of fire, there's some house and fire. Now I start to roll over just in case, but I track him just long enough to make sure he is not going to be getting back to the airfield. That leaves one guy on the enemy team, and I'm in a Spitfire. 3 minutes later. That's right, the last guy's in a BV-238. Problem is they have an advantage in tickets, as I recall. And so in order to make sure that everything goes according to plan, I got to get in there and I got to kill this BV-238. I would not normally attack one of these aircraft with a Spitfire, but I go in for it and just light him up until I see the parts fall off of his tail. I roll right out, fast as best I can, a high-speed close pass, and that BV has had it. He tries to leave me a few parting shots, but I continue to roll out of the way. And that's the match. This was a good one, but this is what happens when you put an attacker pilot, a bomber pilot, behind the stick of one of the most effective airplanes in the game. It just becomes, it's different. Now, I'm going to tell you honestly, I had 2 matches before this that did not go this well, as I was trying to remember how to fly the plane. But we won this one. It was a close fought match, and I really appreciate everybody's participation. You guys have a great night.